seem to know what we're doing and where we're going now, sort of.
What if you could explore a world across an ocean full of culture?
From here, it's all uphill.
Right. Stair step of 2001.
A place where the mountains are high.
And I am beat. Damn it. I am happy.
Woo! All the things great epic cocktail.
In spring 2009, our team of 3 explored 23,390 foot Baruntse in Nepal. This is our story from the jungle to the heights of the Himalayas.
We had one of our tent poles snap.
We are still stuck here in the Good Times Clubhouse at 21,500 feet. This is the best view we've had in a while.
This is Ski the Himalayas, Baruntse 2009.
Could be the gnar.
Could be. Jon Miller joining me today for some of the gnar. What's the word, John? Where are we? What in the world is going on here?
Well, we are making our way to what should be our final base camp, advanced base camp for Baruntse, underneath the east face. Still making some cairns, this pile of rocks, to kind of show us the way home.
That's right. John is talking about our process. We're now on day 14, 13, somewhere in there, of the approach to base camp. We've been hiking through the jungle. We're trying to climb 23,390 foot Baruntse. That is our partner on the left with the red pack, Josh Butson. I'm Ben Clark, shooting right now on the camera. And this moraine was a bunch of up and down through a bunch of unstable rocks. Nothing quite like the jungle or anything you saw in previous episodes. But it starts to kind of get the flavor across that it's like, you know, we aren't the first people in the world to go walking through stuff like this. This is pretty standard fare. If you're ever going out to high mountains, you may not always have a trail. So we're just doing what we do, which is trying to get through it. And, you know.
You never enjoy it. It's never fun, this part. But you do what you have to.
Yeah, this is not the most glorious part of the trip, but it's cool because the scale of the mountain starts to really reveal itself in like these big icy lakes and, you know, these strange formations that sit out there. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's utterly foreign landscape. There is nothing like this anywhere else in the world except in the big mountains.
It's pretty incredible. I've got to say, this is, I mean, this type of terrain, you hear things all the time. Rocks are moving, ice is moving, water's moving. These icicles are forming on the side of this very sandy ice wall, dripping right into a frozen pond. And as I think we'd mentioned in previous episodes, like when we had approached 16,000 foot Makalu base camp, that you always want to be somewhat near water. So what we have to determine is how far exactly can we go away from civilization and still find water, yet be somewhat close to the mountain that we're trying to climb and not having to melt snow in order to make water, because we just can't bring enough fuel for something like that.
Yeah, not at all.
And so having a glacier and having this type of terrain around is helpful. And there you can see one of the broad shoulders of Makalu in the background. Here's Josh approaching, and I think this is really bizarre. Sand.
Yeah, it's rock in all of its forms, from huge mountain monoliths to giant boulders to just ground into little tiny sand particles of sand. I mean, we had it all.
Yeah, that's a crazy spot. So now I remember breaking at that spot just where we'd seen Josh throw that sand out, and it was still kind of sunny. Now the weather's moving in the back. Not a big day for weather, just a little windy up high and whatnot. And I remember thinking, it's probably another 45 minutes to an hour away, you know, and it ended up being another 3.5 hours and almost sunset by the time we finally found a spot to camp. So it was pretty dark. We got there and just kind of had the wherewithal to pretty much throw up a camp and call it.
Yeah.
Best you can do.
We were pretty done. So basically the plan is, once we had our camp, we were going to make this reconnaissance, you know, both to work on our acclimatization and also we knew that here's the east face.
Nice.
This is a great long conversation about pioneering coming up.
Yeah, because we're excited because the final piece of the puzzle
is how do we get onto the northeast face? And here's John. You can see him live in person talking right there. about this thing that we're looking at, which is not really the most positive looking access, but nonetheless, it's the only spot in between those two mountains that actually cleaves it enough for you to get up there without getting killed by rockfall. Hopefully. And that is known as Kitty Litter Couloir. She's a beaut. Bad rock, kind of wet, gnarly snow. I mean, nothing too exciting. If you've climbed mountains before, you probably run across this type of terrain. One last kind of chossy bit.
Might still be. I want to get over closer to it. Yeah. Could be the Nar.
Could be the Nar. Alpine is always in.
It is.
Well, my assessment is it looks like a big, steep, wet, nasty gully. On either side of it, you'd probably be able to protect it, maybe. Depends on how chossy the granite is. And then if you had to bail out of the gully because there's water running behind it and you're punching in through and into the water, you're toast. Because you can't really wrap out of it.
And we learned later on that these were wise statements.
Pretty true.
Safe, you're committed.
Not that we would ever go up something like that. I mean, surely not. You know, you have to keep staying tuned. Figure that out.
Down the other side and get back to base camp.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
It's an interesting perspective trap because it's steep. It looks really steep.
Josh sounds like an attorney here.
I agree with statements from both the previous participants that showed their opinion. I definitely think the lower section could be named a river runs through it. That is a possibility.
Wet.
Protecting it to either side would probably involve, if the rock's solid enough, getting 15 to 20 feet off route on some sketchy rock to try to get to some features you could put some gear in, of which at that point that would be to get down, of which getting down that is extremely committing, as stated. I think the lower section, you know, I've climbed stuff like that before. I've climbed stuff like that at altitude. It's not much fun. It is extremely committing. The thing that sort of worries me more than anything is the upper slopes of it. It looks like very run out, possibly throw in some pickets, but it's looking like it's at least 80 degrees to crest over the top of that from this angle. It looked like that down lower too. I'm more scared of going up that and then trying to punch through a cornice that's at the top. A cornice is actually a wave that comes over the top where the wind's blowing up and over. And in this case, it's probably pretty dang hard. It's probably solid ice. So it involves some pure vertical to overhanging climbing, probably to bust over the top of that. I'm looking off to the right, climber's left, and I don't really see an easy way around it either. And you are committed. Once you get up there, you're going to kill your resources, is what I'm scared of. Because if we use all our resources over there, then we're not going to have resources to try that behind us. Because I think we brought a total of 5 pickets, and we'd have to probably use all those to get down off that. It's definitely not looking like it's hard ice. It is alpine, Ben says. And I always say too, it's alpine, it's always in. But for the greater good of the goal, I'm not so certain that I'm willing to use all of our energy to get over there to try it, to maybe make it to the top and figure out, oh crap, we can't even get over to where we need to get up the rest of the route that we scouted out, versus, you know, this is right there. Could be a little bit easier, you never know. Could be an epic. Could be a good climb time. Looks like a good ski too. I don't know. My mind's still up in the air. I haven't really decided one way or the other.
And I think as you'll learn watching this program is sometimes you look at things and your first impression is one thing, and then as an explorer, I think you end up kind of having to go sniff it out until something happens.
we know we want to go on the other side of that.
And we know that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, everything we've looked everywhere else.
That could be a bit fun. Yeah. Steep, burly, gnarly, probably bad ice below and bad snow above, and all the makings of a great epic cocktail.
Well said, Jon Miller. So I just handed the camera off to Josh.
As usual, time and distance have absolutely no bearing on the present. And I'm going to say, despite how far we've traveled, coming all the way into here is always the best way to tell the tale. Showing up, getting right into the middle of it, looking around. And now that we're directly under the east face of Baruntse, I personally feel like the gully that leads to the East Ridge is committing. I think it's going to drain our resource. I think the three of us have enough wisdom to make a smart decision. I'm not sure if we're going to make it now or later, but we definitely know we can get up it. It's a matter of how committed we want to be to the route if we needed to get off of it if we found the other side wasn't safe. So conventional wisdom would be we've got plenty of peaks on the climbers left or lookers left of the east face to climb and ski and have fun on, so we know we can have a great time no matter what. I think that's the most important thing. We just need to determine whether or not we feel like we want to have the kind of fun that accessing the East Ridge is going to give us, which, you know, it's doable. We've done that kind of stuff before, especially Josh and I several times, but it's a matter of do we want to have fun or do we want to potentially epic so hard that we can't climb anything because we've used all our resources?
Yes, we do, and we are.
Those trees in right now that I think could be a lot of fun. We could climb Peak 6700 next to it and ski that and get a first descent. We can climb.
There are a lot of options, but
Oh, yeah.
as you can see if you hang out with me much, you'll know I spot opportunities everywhere. But when you know, when the rubber has to hit the road, it's like when you take into the fact that you've got so much time and so much weather, you're better off to stick right to plan A and give it a shot, because plan B
You don't know.
sometimes just doesn't even, you can't even get a plan B. The weather just doesn't cooperate.
Area that's so remote to then find ourselves without the resource to get down the other side. So, yeah, looks to me like it's all fun. I don't really matter either way to me. I just came here to climb, so I figure we'll find something. I do wish that, that it was sunnier. And it was easier to see the entire thing. But other than that, I think it's...
I do think the other option Josh described, and I was just talking about that there, looks like a great plan B.
Yeah.
And I was into it. We went, you'll see in the episodes how far we got on both.
Yeah. But we're kind of hard-headed sometimes too. We aren't about to not do something just from a long view.
Yeah, just because we're scared. Guess what? I get scared pretty frequently when I approach climbs.
Oh, absolutely.
Until I actually start doing something about it, and then I realize I'm like, oh, this is possible.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't feel like you're going to have a bunch of danger over your head, get into it. And if it gets too far, if it gets too crazy, you usually can get off of it. Yeah. And if it's not crazy enough, you usually can get up it.
Yeah. But that's a good example of our decision making the whole time.
Another picture perfect day.
Absolutely. It is talking, seeing what we see and talking about it and making a decision as a group, as a team, because that's what we are.
Yep. And here we are, we're on a recon, wanting to come up and, like John was just saying, not taking the long view, but trying to figure out what, if we didn't have to climb up that gnarly gully to see what the rest of the route looked like,
Really great
then
day.
would that help make our decision easier?
Our original plan was to go acclimatize over on that peak today, but as you can see, kind of weather moved in. We've got a high ceiling and some low clouds.
Yeah, so we've got John saying our original plan. We wanted to go climb this little peak over here, and it's like 7 o'clock and already snowing. So
much for that idea.
yeah, that's a good indication of a day that's going to end up probably accumulating snow and becoming a bit blizzard-like.
How you feeling? Been sleeping pretty good and stuff?
Yeah, sleeping pretty well, feeling pretty good. That first, 20 minutes of the morning hike is always kind of like, ugh. But then once you get going, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Trying to drink plenty of water and keep the old engine running.
It's more than 10 days.
So now it's snowing a little more heavily. About an hour later, it's accumulating. Things are turning white, and we've approached Kitty Litter Kuar. We're at the base, and since we had brought all our kit up, all our gear, to want to go and do a more technical and essentially exciting line for an acclimatization little venture. So we decided to walk up and leave some of this stuff at the base of Kitty Litter Kuar, because we started to realize at this point it snows a lot in the Himalayas. We've been hit by a lot of rain. We only saw 2 really sunny days.
Yeah, the whole trek in.
So we figured, well, we better go ahead and give ourselves every advantage at getting to the base of this route at least.
Yep.
And knowing now that, well, we're going to have to commit, and this is the access to go up there, because we don't have a bunch of time to run around on a bunch of different peaks trying to figure out whether or not this thing's climbable.
Yeah, at this point, we've kind of made our decision that, plan A through C, which involved acclimatization, is kind of out the window because we're just out of time.
Yeah.
But this looks a lot better than we feared it would.
Yeah, it turns out okay. I mean, it's loose rubble. And I think the bottom line here, John, being guys that we live in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, this is swag. This is crap terrain. It's loose. Yeah. It's unstable. It's not hard. It's just heady because you can tell there's clearly a lot of steep rock and a lot of rock fall that comes through that particular area. So our goal is to avoid that and to move as quickly as we can. That's precisely why we're laying out all of this equipment and leaving it here. Yeah. So the next time we come up, we're coming up with skis, and we are ready to
rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, get this thing going. We aren't going to have great weather every day or every other day or even every few days. So as you can see here, that snow is starting to accumulate, looking at the glacier. And what kind of thoughts did you have running through your mind walking out that day? I mean, we're walking out, it's kind of snowy and nasty.
Well, I mean, like you'd hit it. Living in the San Juans, we deal with these conditions pretty much constantly. It's a little lower in elevation. So a little nervous. I mean, at this point, we've decided. We're committed. We're going to try the route. We're going to rest a little bit and then come back up here and do it. So a little nervous. It's going to be big. It's going to be gnarly. But it's going to be fun. You can see actually on Josh's pack, that's an old picket and piece of rope that we found down there. Signs people have been here.
Yeah, old, from the 80s. Old.
Absolutely. But I mean, climbing is a huge community. It's a fraternity. It goes on forward. It goes on backwards.
Yep,
and
it's crazy.
It's a beautiful thing.
So there's Jon Miller coming into screen. He will be joining us again for the next week's episode. And guess what? You know what? We're at episode 8. We've got more of these, actually. 4 more, and they're going to be great. So stay tuned with us here at skitohimalayas.com. See you guys later.